Welcome. Um, Welcome to Everyday Conversations regarding mental health. Now, you're here because there's nothing on the telly. And I'm coming to you live from the old Heale Manor. And I'm your host, Lord Heale. Now, you know that we do a quiz. We've changed it from once a week to once a month. Now we're just going to do the quiz the first Wednesday of every month. The reason we've changed it is because it was getting a little bit hard work. It's really difficult to put together a quiz every week. So rather than get burnt out, we decided we'd just do it once a month. So that's the reason that the quiz has gone to once a month over on the old quiz channel. Anyway, this channel's all about mental health and taking the stigma out of it. It's all about mental well-being. What I'm going to look at in this episode is veteran suicide rates. Now, there's been a study at the University of Manchester that they released back in December 22, and I've just come across it and I found it quite interesting. So basically all I'm going to do is I'm going to look at the report and read what the report says. So let's have a look at this report. So the study, it says, new figures provide latest data on veteran suicide. And the scope of it was new figures provide latest data on veteran suicide. Serving in the military for longer periods of time and serving on operational tours were associated with reduced suicide risk, while younger veterans and those who left after a short career are more at risk. Study is one part of improving data and understanding of the causes and rates of suicide in veterans. So that's basically what the scope of it's going to be about. So it says, a new study from the University of Manchester has found that veterans are at no greater risk of suicide than the general population. The study, which linked data between the NHS and military records, also found that veterans over the age of 35 were at a lower risk of suicide than the general population, although younger veterans were at increased risk. That's interesting. The new data was funded by the Ministry of Defence and NHS England. It looked at data of over 458,000 veterans between 1996 and 2018. During this period, 1,086, that's 0.2%, veterans sadly took their own lives, which is similar to the rates in the general population. The findings came as Veterans Affairs Minister Johnny Mercer called for greater awareness of the support available, particularly as we head towards the Christmas period, where some may struggle with their mental health. Minister of Veterans Affairs Johnny Mercer said, "This is an important study which will help us ensure we have targeted veterans care and support." While it's important to note that suicide rates amongst veterans are similar to the general population, any death is a tragedy, and we must help those who need support. I would strongly urge anyone who is struggling to reach out and help is available, including through Op Courage in England, dedicated NHS services in Scotland and Wales, and a Veterans Support Office in Northern Ireland. So the help is out there, you just need to ask for it, which is difficult. Whilst overall suicide risk is similar to the general population, the study found suicide rates were 2 to 4 times higher for veterans under the age of 25 when compared with the general population of the similar age group. However, suicide rates were lower than the general population for veterans over 35 years old. Contrary to popular perception, the study also found that those who have served in a conflict had a reduced risk of suicide. The study also found that being male, being discharged from the forces before the age of 34 years, being untrained and having served for less than 10 years were risk factors for suicide. The research also showed that a quarter of veterans who had died by suicide had been in conflict with or in contact with specialist mental health services in the last 12 months prior to their deaths. So, looking at this study then, it says that there are two basic types of veterans. You've got the old soldiers, a bit like myself, that have seen conflict, been about the what's name a bit, are at less risk of taking your own life than the younger fellas that have probably just joined up, done one tour and then pulled the pin and left after, say, 4 years, which an awful lot of them did. During the conflict years of the Afghan campaign and Iraq, I guess to a certain degree the Balkans, guys were joining up, doing a 4-year stint, doing an operational tour, and then leaving. It's those young fellas that are more at risk of taking their own lives than the older lads. I find that really, really interesting. So, if you know of a young fella, or any veteran actually, that is still struggling, and you can not always tell, because sometimes we're pretty good at hiding it. It's okay not to be okay. And if you don't feel right in yourself, then there's a ton of help out there. You can go to your GP. You can go to Op Courage, which is you've got a forces champion in the NHS, and it's countrywide. Op Courage is there. They're veterans. They understand what you guys have been through. There are over 2,000 charities out there that want help service personnel, ex-service personnel. You don't have to go through this stuff alone. If you find yourself struggling, if you find yourself lonely, because once you leave, the rug comes out from under you, and it is difficult. It is difficult when you first leave, and it's not until, for me, I found that once I'd left, once I was in, I'm dealing with it all, no problem at all. Once I'd left, it was a couple of years after I left that I had a wobble, that some of the stuff that I'd seen started to catch up on me. I didn't have that day-to-day contact with my mates and all the rest of it, and I sought help. I've contemplated suicide a couple of times, thought how to do it, even. But what stopped me doing it is having seen it firsthand, knowing what those that are behind have to go through. Just doesn't make it worth doing. Now, that old MASH song, "Suicide is Painless," well, it ain't. It ain't painless. An awful lot of pain goes into suicide. So, if you're thinking about it, don't do it. Seek help first. There is help out there. But I did find that quite interesting in that research, that they found that veterans that had taken their own lives had sought help within the last 12 months before the event. That's interesting. I'd like to know a little bit more about that, what the help they sought was and whether it helped. You know my little story. I sought help from the doctor. He put me onto these specialists. I went and had a chat with them. I'd had about half a dozen sessions. Because they were civilian types, they were really good at what they did. Unfortunately for me, they weren't able to help because they didn't understand the stuff that I'd gone through. But I had a chat with a mate or two that had been through similar stuff and got it squared away. So I wonder if it's that similar experience where they've seen the specialist, but they haven't been the right specialists. So anyway, I thought I'd bring that to you, that little piece of research and what they found. And I found it quite interesting that guys over 35 that have done fairly long careers are at less risk than the young fellas that are under 25 that have done short careers. So, thanks for listening. I think we've got an important message to push out there, that it's okay not to be okay, and it's okay to sought help. And everybody at some stage in their life has suffered some sort of trauma. So post-trauma stress is prevalent in everybody, and it's not weak. It's not. It's okay to be able to talk about it and seek the professional help or unprofessional help from your mates to get yourself right, to be able to deal with it. So there you go. That's my tuppence worth on the what's name on veterans suicide rates. So until the next one, TTFN. Ta-ta for now.